From far and wide, Oilers fans, this is Dolynny TV. And welcome back to another Edmonton Oilers discussion here on Dolynny TV. Guys, I'm Tyson and I am ready to take you through a couple last picks I have. Obviously, we have seen how the Oilers have gotten things done in terms of trades the past two trades under Keith Gretzky, his first two trades as interim general manager, as he's pretty much all but certain to lead us through the trade deadline at this point. And what that means is we have to take a look back at what he's done already. Obviously, Spooner for Gagner, salary dump either way, or wash, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, though, it's AHL player for what should be an NHL player on this Oilers roster, right? That's where this Oilers roster is at. A guy who has played in the AHL after losing his spot to younger players in the Vancouver Canucks organization is now an NHL roster player immediately because he's on the Edmonton Oilers. That's a mess. Yes, it's Sam Gagner. No, I'm not saying I hate Sam Gagner. No, I'm not saying it's wrong. However, that's where this team's at. So now you have also the Cam Talbot for Anthony Stoller's trade, which was the salary dump to allow Andre Sekera back onto the team. Right now you've got Matt Benning on the IR, and there's a couple of complications coming from all around this team at this point. There's a couple trades that need to be made yet, and I'm going to make my case for 3 to 5 guys that need to be traded. Obviously, I've got it lumped into 2 guys straight up, and then 3 guys that you have to take your pick of, probably 2 out of 3. Now you already know what I'm talking about when you go there. So guys, we're in for a little bit of a long road here, as obviously there's 2 guys that I look at in the lineup not bringing anything to this Edmonton Oilers team. Right now, I'll go check their stats for you. And the stats are as simple as this. For Tobias Rieder, 10 points, 44 games played. We'll get to him in a second. However, for Kyle Brodziak, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, minus 13, and a big old whopping 53 games played. So that's a hard fall off for a lot of guys who, I mean, they're not superstars in this league by any means, but at this point they should be looking at 12 to 15 points, not 10 and 7. And I mean, 15 should be closer than 12, you know what I mean? So for Kyle Brodziak, let's get to his cap friendly and see what I'm talking about in terms of cap space when it comes to Kyle Brodziak. Because the thing is, I believe Kyle Brodziak, is signed through the 2019-2020 season. And the complication with Kyle Brodziak, as many of you will probably try to point out, is, well, his family's in Sherwood Park. Why would the Oilers make him leave? I mean, like, seriously, he came home to play with him. That's just rude. Guys, hard angle. Hockey is a business, and I mean, for $1.15 million a year, think about this. If he spanned that salary over 10 years, yes, of course, it's still taxable whether he plays hockey or he's working for $100,000 a year, so let's forget the taxes for a second. At $100,000 a year for 10 years, so Kyle Brodziak would be, 30, what is he now? He's 30, where is he? Where is his age? 34, so he'd be 44 by the time that $100,000 that runs out. Scratch it for a second and think about it this way. That $100,000, if you bank at least $600,000 this year and next year, guess what? You are laughing for the rest of your life. So for Kyle Brodziak to sit there and try and play the, well, this is home angle, why you can't trade me, this is home. Seriously, grow up, you're making the money, go somewhere else for the rest of this year and next year, retire, call it a career, you are gold, you are laden. And for the Oilers, the angle there is, honestly, you've already scratched him a couple of times, so he's clearly fallen out of favor with a coach that loved him in St. Louis by all accounts. And the scratched aspect just means, you know what, why would you want to sit here on this team and just collect a paycheck when you're a guy who came here to help this team win? And oh my goodness, there we go. Hold on. Guys, breaking news from Elliot Friedman, defeating one of my points. Brandon Manning is on waivers as it currently stands, so keep that in mind. That will scratch off one of my lists. Now you only have to make a decision between one of the 2 other guys, so that's good news for the Oilers. Good roster move as well, but back to Brodziak for a second. So what is he worth? That's the question, right? Is Kyle Brodziak worth anything to the Oilers? Anything worth to anyone else? I don't think so. That's the issue. But you can get a pick. A pick is a pick. You get a 7th or 6th rounder for Kyle Brodziak, clear the cap space, clear it, and start yourself fresh for next season. Obviously, we've gone into this trade deadline, we are now clear sellers, and I'm arguing to sell a couple guys off for just picks, and that's the guy you got to do it for. So Kyle Brodziak, a guy you clearly got to trade by the deadline. There is no point in keeping Kyle Brodziak beyond the deadline or into next season. And the next guy I've already mentioned is points totals. Tobias Rieder, this is a brutal one for him. He's coming to Edmonton, and I mean, guys, we had a little bit of expectation for him because we saw him as a young rookie. We saw that maybe he can come in and kindle something with a couple guys and get it going. Problem is, he absolutely has not. He's an RFA at the end of the year. He's $2 million cap hit right now, 26 years old. It's just so tough for Tobias Rieder, a guy who, as I said, has had 10 points. He had 6 points in 20 games with the LA Kings. He had 19 points in 58 games with the Arizona Coyotes last year. I mean, yeah, sure, we're not getting total point production out of him, but this team, obviously, Tobias Rieder was meant to be a little bit more of a cog of the machine this year, and all he has is 10 assists. I say 10 points. It's 10 assists straight up, no goals. You want to talk about how that hurts a team. Think, Tobias Rieder has 8 goals and keeps that 10 assists up. Man, this team's in the playoff race by 2 or 3 extra points, and that is a big difference for a team that is hurting for goal scoring at this point. So you go look at what Tobias Rieder is worth, and for Tobias Rieder, you know what? Honestly, it's another clear of the cap, right, as the Brandon Manning on waivers is clearly. And what is he worth? What is Tobias Rieder worth to any other team, maybe playoff run team, maybe a team that's just getting him because he is an RFA and you can get him for probably $1.5 million next year and do the same as the Oilers, fill out the roster? Here's the problem. I think the most you can get for Tobias Rieder is a 4th round pick, but I mean, from other fan bases' perspective, that's a lot. That's a lot for a guy who has no goals, really hasn't found a spot on this team. He's been all up and down the lineup and still hasn't scored a goal. Well, a 4th is fair value because of the RFA status at the end of the year. That's what I would argue, right? The RFA status at the end of the year allows you the chance to retain him by qualifying his RFA status. So what do you do, right? And for a playoff team, well, maybe it's worth it. For a non-contending team, maybe it's worth it to just have that guy on your team to start next year, right? So it's a balance, delicate balance, but a 4th round pick for Tobias Rieder at this point for the Oilers, when we've got guys like Colby Cave, Brad Malone in the lineup who are doing just as good of a job, if not better, honestly, chances, right? In terms of chances, I'm not talking in terms of points because Tobias Rieder has more points than them, but Tobias Rieder throws it from the side of the boards, literally straight on from the side of the net, and tries to score there. Colby Cave's crashing the net, Brad Malone's banging the body, so guys, those guys are a lot more valuable to me in the lineup than a guy like Tobias Rieder at this point. So now let's get to the discussion, because obviously now Brandon Manning is on waivers. So now that sets you, if he doesn't get claimed, what are your options, right? You can still trade him. He'll be in the minors or whatever, what have you. Or you end up trading one of Benning and Petrovic. Benning obviously on the IR right now. When he comes back, he should be back from all accounts before the trade deadline. I mean, it's 7 days away, so usually he'll be back before then. And Alex Petrovic, who, I mean, I love him to death, don't get me wrong, Edmonton boy, hometown guy, right, kind of thing. But here's the issue. Alex Petrovic is just a guy who doesn't fit on this club, and same with Matt Benning. You got to choose between one of them not to fit on the club now that you have Andrei Sekera back in the lineup. Obviously, you've got Kevin Gravel there. Kevin Gravel is that perfect, prototypical guy to be the Oilers' 7th defenseman. I have no problems with Kevin Gravel. However, Matt Benning is not good enough to be an everyday top 6 player, and Alex Petrovic is about the same as Matt Benning, not good enough to be an everyday top 6 player. Mind you, Benning has the stats to say he should be there. Petrovic has not much to argue, so that's why I lean more to Petrovic than Benning, as much as I don't like Benning. You guys know I have a hate on for Matt Benning. However, you got to choose between one of the two, and either or, you're going to be choosing a tough dilemma. I mean, Alex Petrovic, honestly, it's tough. He's an RFA at the end of the year, and Matt Benning, I believe, has 1 year left on his contract. Matt Benning, yeah. So he's got $1.9 million for the next 2 seasons. So honestly, if you're not inclined to trade both, I don't know what you're doing. But yeah, 1.9 mil. That's a tough salary to sit here and argue Matt Benning is worth it for the defense he plays. But I mean, same with Petrovic. So those are 3 to 4 guys. Obviously, Brandon Manning on waivers solves the issue for now. That'll allow us to reactivate Matt Benning. So clearly the defense is still rolling 8 guys. However, you got to trade one of those 2 guys. I'm all for keeping Kevin Gravel. Now it's up to one of those 2 guys. Guys, I'm Tyson Dolynny. This is Dolynny TV. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below because I want to hear your thoughts. Am I out to lunch, or is these very simple, easy moves to clear up roster space, to clear up cap space, and get some guys that aren't doing anything gone? All right, I'll catch you in the next one.